What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and I'm back at it to bring you more 40k lore each and every day. Now, one of the questions that I get asked pretty much almost every day, well, I wouldn't say every day, but I'd say at least 3 or 4 times a week, is, are there dragons in Warhammer 40k? Now, that question can be yes and no. Dragons, in the sense that most people know, for example, are the winged serpentine creatures, reptilian creatures. As far as I know, there are no dragons in 40k, but you do have like drakes, you do have some dinosaurs for like the exodites that the Eldar ride. Apparently you have hydras, which is where the Alpha Legion got their insignia, their symbol from, and you've got the salamanders, that the salamanders don their carapace or their scales, whatever it is you want to call them. So in a way, there are dragons, just not in that sense. Dragons are more in Warhammer Fantasy than they are in 40k, but I'm pretty sure there's a world out there that has dragons. They just haven't fleshed it out so much in the lore, as far as I know. So that being said, this video is going to be a little bit different. We're going to be covering all the dragon-like creatures in the 40k universe. So sit down, grab some popcorn, and let's dive into 40k lore on dragons. Now, one of the most well-known dragons, so to speak, in the 40k universe comes in the form of the Catan Magladroth, aka the Void Dragon. So the Void Dragon is one of the few remaining Catan, or Necron star gods, that lies in the Milky Way galaxy. This large Catan shard is believed by some tech priests to be the actual machine god, venerated by the cult of the machine of the Admech. He is a master of the material realm, and this particular Catan was a figure of oblivion, devastation, and destruction overall. It is said that the creatures that this Catan created were practically indestructible, and no Catan shard of this Catan has been encountered as of yet. There may also be a connection between this entity and the other entity known as the Dragon of Mars, which is an unknown creature that was imprisoned beneath the surface of Mars, all thanks to the Emperor of Mankind before the start of the Age of Terra. So if the Void Dragon actually exists, it could be arguably the most powerful Catan, particularly after the banishment of the Nightbringer's phase scythe into the warp due to the Old Ones. So this is pretty crazy. So if this shard were to awaken, or this beast were to awaken, it's basically bad news for not just Mars, Terra, but pretty much the whole galaxy. Another instance of dragons in 40k is the successor chapter of the Salamanders known as the Black Dragons. So the Black Dragons are one of the Loyalist Space Marine chapters created during the 21st founding, and a lot of times the Inquisition is deep in investigation with these guys, mainly because of the mutation of their chapter's gene seed, which causes blade-like growths of bone to basically protrude out from their head, forearms, etc. Some black dragons afflicted in this way sharpen these bones to make them pretty much a blade in combat. Sometimes it is said that these bones are actually stronger than adamantium. So in close combat, these guys are pretty much beast. The Black Dragons then are pretty much grouped together into a specialist jump-packed assault marines known as the Dragon Claws. Thus, they seem to be getting their units and their name based on dragons, which could just be based on their mythology, or maybe there's actual dragons on their home planet. One of the many gene seeds, zygotes, that these neophytes are implanted with are known as the Osmudala, and this small organ has a complex function within the body of the Space Marine. Basically, it monitors and secretes hormones affecting the epiphyseal fusion and ossification of the skeleton, thus allowing their bones to absorb ceramic-based chemicals and therefore protrude into these horns. Once again, guys, if you guys want more lore into the Black Dragons, we do have a 40 facts, so jump on over to our older videos to check that out. Now, it's not just the Imperium that has these kind of dragon-like creatures in it. The Eldar also use dragons, sometimes called Dragon Knight Riders. So let's dive into the Eldar exodites. So the exodite worlds are generally considered backward and rustic compared to the rest of the space-roaming Eldar, although they still possess a good deal of high tech. One of the pieces of technology that they have maintained is the Infinity Circuit. But when forced into a corner, these exodites wage war using a mixture of standard Eldar tech and riding great dinosaurs into battle, or sometimes they refer to them as dragons. Some exodites also operate clans of Eldar Knights, also known as Dragon Riders. Despite the presence of some technology, these worlds are often agricultural. However, it is not uncommon for groups of exodites to exist in a nomadic state, living off of roaming herds and seasonal harvest. The most common image of the exodite life. Many outcasts will find a refuge among these Eldar, who are generally more accepting to other Xenos races. Another notable Space Marine chapter that utilizes serpentine dragons or creatures is the Hydra of the Alpha Legion. So basically during the Horus Heresy, the 20th Legion demonstrated an inviolable ability to replace its battlefield losses. While the war continued and many legions saw their strength shorn away, the Alpha Legion appeared to grow stronger throughout the conflict, despite several seemingly serious defeats. And much like the Hydra of myth, where one head was cut off, two more appeared to grow in its place. Also, the Hydra seems to be a mysterious, almost sneaky and deceiving creature, for example, appearing weak but once you behead it, it gains double the strength, much like the Alpha Legion did. Also, a few of the Legion's artifacts bear the name of Hydra or the Drake. For example, the Blade of the Hydra. Long ago, this oversized chainsword was for purely ceremonial use, since the demon prince Garua of the 9 Sundered Souls was bound inside it. However, this blade has been a fiendish tool of destruction ever since. Those with a will strong enough to control its multiple thirsting mindsets can cause this sawtooth blade to shimmer into not one, but several swords that gnaw and gash with immortal hunger. These extra blades are insubstantial when the wielder wills it, and razor sharp when the flesh of its enemies is near. The Drake Scale Plate. This suit of Corvus Alpha pattern power armor was forged by an ancient tech savant of the Dark Mechanicum. This battleplate incorporates the living titanium scales of the Mika Skydrake. Its pauldrons, vambrancens, and greaves are so well protected by this beast's innate resistance to fire that even a flamestrom cannon's channeled inferno splashes harmlessly aside like water from smooth pillars of obsidian. And then we have the Hydra's teeth. The Hydra's teeth are bolt rounds with ammunition casing that must be kept slick with blood-laced oil, or else they'll detonate prematurely and cause irrevocable damage to the wielder. Legend goes that they are sentient in the manner of demon weapons, and that sorcerers' powers have somehow given them a terrible hunger for destruction. Once fired, they seek out fresh victims, regardless of how well hidden they may be, before exploding into a blast of eye-searing, lung-scorching gas that can turn exposed flesh into black sludge. And lastly, we probably have the most well-known chapter, I guess, that kind of bears the insignia of the dragon, and that is the Salamanders. Now I'm going to go a little bit more in depth into the fire drakes of the Salamanders chapter. So the elite Salamander Legion, there were even more elite legionnaires known as the Fire Drakes, which were veterans that were chosen not simply for their martial skill, but also because of their mental resilience and capacity for discipline and self-sacrifices. The Fire Drake unit was created during the Great Crusade by their Primarch Vulcan. The Fire Drakes were so named for the greatest of the salamander creatures said to originate beneath the stones of Mount Deathfire. Now the Fire Drakes also wore the scales of these Fire Drake creatures known as Caesar's Mantle, and it was actually one of the 9 artifacts of Vulcan, which was a Drake scale cloak that basically protects them from fire-based attacks. Now, one of the more notable instances of the word dragon in an actual unit comes from the Salamander's dreadnought known as the Iron Dragon. and that is everything that I found to be dragon related in the Warhammer 40k lore. If there's anything that I missed, please let me know in the comments down below. I would really like to dive into that. Now, before you guys send me any fan chapters, I do know that there's a bunch of fan created chapters that deal around dragons. It's actually a pretty popular thing. So if you guys have your own lore, send it to our Facebook page and it may get shown on a 40 Facts video. Anyway guys, that's all the time I have. So as always, hit us up because we post videos each and every day. I'm the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'm signing out.